Hello everyone, welcome back to the Budget Sportsman. Thank you so much for joining me on today's video. Today I want to share with you my review of a new saddle on the market for 2025. It's the custom gear modification Moccasin. And this saddle is really exciting to me because it's very affordable. Now, as the Budget Sportsman, that's the name of my YouTube channel, often I get comments when I talk about saddle hunting and say, hey, this is just not affordable, it's just not budget friendly. And to a large extent, that is true. However, recently I have been seeing a push from some of these companies to really try to offer products that provide a lot of value at a good price. But one of the things that makes the custom gear modification Moccasin so exciting is that it's affordable. And right inside the saddle here, there's a tag that says made in the USA. Now, I'm not pointing any fingers or going to name any names in this video, but some of the other companies offering saddles today that are very popular are making their saddles overseas. And that's not necessarily a problem. It doesn't make it a bad saddle. But just for reference, last year I reviewed a saddle that was very budget friendly, even just a little bit more budget friendly than this one. And I recommend it. It's a good saddle, but it was made overseas. And so what I love is that now we have an American-made option at a price point that I think is very, very competitive and is going to really be a great option if you want to support American-made. Now, if you're not familiar with custom gear modifications, it is a veteran-owned, American-owned, family-run business located in Tennessee. I've been privileged to actually visit the shop where all the gear is made and see the family working, and it's just a really cool experience. And I get to work with a number of different companies working through the YouTube channel, and custom gear modifications is always one that I'm really proud to get a chance to work alongside of. With that being said, I do want to be clear, this saddle was sent to me for free for the purpose of doing this review. Now, I just spent a bunch of time talking to you about how affordable the saddle is without actually giving you the price. Currently on the custom gear modification website is coming in at $152. In a market where many saddles start at $200 and go up to $300 or even $400, $150 is a price tag that certainly catches my attention and I think is worthy of your consideration if you're on a budget. Now, it might be tempting to just automatically assume that because this saddle is a lower price point, that somehow they've maybe cut corners or removed important features. And that's just not true. There are some things that are different about this than the Sidewinder, and I'm going to do a comparison about that a little bit later in the video. But all of your basic features that you really need are going to be in this saddle. Now, one thing to keep in mind is this is a true single panel saddle. It's not a pleated saddle. It's not a two-panel saddle. And that's certainly going to keep the cost down. Single panel saddles do tend to be a little bit cheaper, but this comes in cheaper than even a lot of other single panel saddles. Now, the quality of this saddle, the stitching, the build quality is really good. I've been working with custom gear modifications since the early days of their first saddle, the Sidewinder, and over time, I feel like the quality has just gone up and the attention to detail has really gone up, and adding in just some unique little features that just make it stand out, even at an affordable price point. Now, in this video, I've been doing a whole lot of talking, but not a whole lot of showing you the saddle. So let's dive in and look a little bit more closely at the Moccasin saddle. One of the first things that I notice is that it's a very light saddle. Now, I've already mentioned that they have kept all the essential features in the saddle, but they have cut out some of what I would call the non-essentials. And that's a contributing factor to having a light saddle. Now, another contributing factor is that these two G-hooks right here are for your leg straps, but these two G-hooks are the only metal on the entire saddle. There's no metal anywhere else, including the waist belt. And that is another contributing factor to a light saddle. Now, something that Custom Gear Modifications has done in order to, I believe, keep the cost down on this saddle is that on the website, there's only one color available. Now, as the name implies, it is Custom Gear Modifications. And so if you wanted to get a custom color or maybe a custom camo pattern, they do all kinds of fancy work with, I've seen them do saddles out of suit coats and old army fatigues and grandpa's flannel, all kinds of cool stuff. And I'm willing to bet that they would do it on the Moccasin if you requested it. However, if you're going to do a custom saddle, I would recommend moving toward the Sidewinder or the Cobra. The Moccasin is a great saddle, but it's intended for just the budget-friendly, budget-minded guy who wants to get out there and have a good time. But Custom Gear Modifications does do all kind of custom work. But if you're not going to do something custom, then this is the color that they're offering. Now let's take a look at the saddle. Along the waist belt here, along the back side, you're going to get a full row of molle. Be aware this is very tightly stitched molle. I've seen some saddles that have big loops, very easy to clip stuff on. This is a more tight weave. Now, for me, if I put a pouch on a saddle, I'm going to put it on there and I'm going to leave it on there for a long while. And so I don't mind maybe struggling a little bit to force the buckles up through, but then having it nice and secure once it's on there. However, if you want to do things like maybe carabiners, this is going to be a little bit tighter. Now, speaking of pouches, on the bottom side of the saddle here, you have this other little section of MOLLE. It just has two sections or two segments of MOLLE right here, and that would be to connect the lower part of your pouch, particularly if you use custom gear modification pouches. I showed them in a recent video. They have a little toggle at the bottom, so you can actually connect them down here and keep them from flapping around. That's a really neat feature that's on, I think, pretty much all of custom gear modification saddles. But the fact that it's included on the budget-friendly saddle, I think, is pretty cool. Now, as you come up along this row of MOLLE, you are going to get this extra loop out at both ends. I can stick my finger through that. That's going to be a much better place if you do need to stick your carabiner in through there. It's definitely looser than these tightly woven MOLLEs that are going to be better for your pouches. Coming forward, you're going to see the lineman's loop. Now, be aware this lineman's loop does sit horizontally to the ground as opposed to some loops that sit like this, more vertically to the ground. And it is a smaller loop than on some of the other custom gear modification saddles. And it's going to sit maybe a little bit further back than on some. But overall, it's a stiff fabric, so you can see it can push. It's going to hold open. You're going to get your carabiner in there. And one of the things that I really love about it is that it has this blaze orange. I'm hoping you can see that on video. It has this blaze orange on the inside of the loop. And that's one of the things that I was mentioning earlier about over the years, custom gear modification has just added these extra little touches that just elevate their saddle beyond what it used to be. And they've always been good, but these extra little touches just really make them stand out. I think they make it look cool and they make it very functional. You're gonna be able to look down and see that loop and know that you're getting your carabiner for your lineman's belt in the right place. Now, another thing to be aware of here, another thing to notice is there's these 4 loops all across the top of the saddle here, and those are for wearing a pair of suspenders with your saddle, something I don't personally do, but I know a lot of guys like to do that. And again, I would have assumed that on a really budget-friendly saddle that might be a feature that would get cut, but it did not. It's still there, and I think that's pretty cool. Now, another feature of this budget-friendly saddle that I think is pretty impressive that they've included, you can see this little piece of cloth here, and it's Velcroed here to the bottom of the bridge loop. Now, what that is inside of that piece of cloth, if you take off the Velcro, unwrap the cloth, it's like a little pouch. Inside is an am steel, a section of am steel that's basically it's like a tether with a foot loop, okay? And the whole point of that is to be able to put your foot in that tether and take weight off of your saddle if you were to have a fall where you fell off your platform or fell off your sticks and you weren't able to get back up. Eventually, having all of the weight in your saddle could cut off circulation. And just like a lot of safety harnesses come with that kind of a foot loop that's able to take off that pressure from your legs, custom gear modifications has included that in this budget-friendly saddle. I think that's really, really cool. Now, moving around to the front, the belt here is going to be just a rope belt, and it slips through. It's not sewn in, so it can slide around and you can position it exactly the way you want to. And it's just got a friction hitch. So you just pull it tight like that. And I'll show you putting it on in a minute. It's going to be a two-handed operation, but it's silent, it's simple. It's not, you know, some belts, if they've got a strap, you can just grab the tag end and pull it tight through the buckle. This is going to be a two-handed operation, but I've used these kind of belts on other custom gear modification saddles, and they work really well. And then you've got a rope bridge. And one of the things I really appreciate about this is you can adjust it on both ends. There's a prusik on both ends, but they've included a 3D printed tender. Now, again, this is a budget-friendly saddle. A tender is not something I would expect to find on a budget-friendly saddle. And I'll show you more how that works in a minute, but it's going to make your bridge adjustments one-handed. You can hopefully see there, it's like a little figure 8 tender that's 3D printed. And then moving down here, these are the other ends of your leg loops. This is where you're going to attach your G-hooks of your leg loops. And I love that they stick out. They're maybe 3 inches long here. A lot of saddles have that loop way back in here attached to the saddle, just really short. And you've got to hunt around and try to find it. These long loops here, again, the blaze orange, are going to be super easy to find. So like most saddles, you are going to have to step through the bridge, and in this case, the belt as well. Pull it up, and then again, you're going to see this belt. It's just this black rope. You just pull it tight. And like I mentioned, it can spin, so you can put that knot wherever you want to. If you want to put that knot over to one side or in the middle, you can do that. And that's all there is to putting it on. Reach down and grab the G-hooks here. And again, like I already mentioned, let me do the other side. These straps here for the G-hook stick way out. You don't have to go find them way back in here. They stick way out really nicely. They're nice and secure. The loops are snug, so they're not going to fall out by any means. And this one on this side is a little bit snugger than the other side. And there you go. So let's go ahead and get up in a tree and talk about comfort. All right, well, we're up in the tree now, and there's a couple of things that I wanted to point out. First of all, this saddle, like many saddles today have, they have an adjustment here on the bridge loop where you can actually adjust basically the connection point of your bridge to the loops. And they slide up and down the bridge loop. And the idea is that the further down your bridge loop you go, the more pressure you get on your legs. And the further up you go, the more that pressure transfers up to the top side of the saddle into the basically lower back region, we'll just say. Now, I've already played with this and found where it's comfortable for me in this tree, so I'm not going to move it around on camera. But I will say this, that even after weighting the saddle and putting all of your weight into it, I still found these adjustments very, very easy to move. They don't lock down so hard that they can't move. You can stand up, take your weight off, and pretty easily be able to move them around. Now, again, I've weighted the saddle here, and I wanted to show you this one-handed operation of the bridge adjustment. You are going to want to take your weight off of it, but then I can grab that bridge, and with 2 fingers, very little effort, I can make that bridge adjustment. And then, of course, grab the friction knot itself and pull it back down. And even after it's been weighted, it's very, very easy to adjust. Now let's go ahead and talk about comfort for a moment. To me, the Moccasin feels a lot like many other single panel saddles that I've tried in the past. Over the last couple years, I have started to gravitate more toward 2-panel saddles and pleated saddles. I do think those saddles that have a little bit more surface area do provide a little bit more comfort, but I still think the single panel saddle is a great option. It's simple, and I think it's plenty comfortable for the average hunter, particularly who maybe is going to do a couple hours in the morning or a couple hours in the evening. Maybe not as much for all-day sits. But to me, the Moccasin is lining up very similar to many other single panel saddles on the market, plenty comfortable to get out there and do some hunting. Now, for me personally, I've often found that a single panel saddle is more comfortable in the leaning position, while a 2-panel or pleated saddle can be more comfortable in the seating position. Although every saddle is different and every body shape is different, so that's something you're gonna have to find out for yourself. I'm finding this saddle to be pretty comfortable in either position. This is feeling really, really nice right here, right now. Another thing to mention is usually when I do hunt from a single panel saddle, I do like to have a back band, and that's something I don't have out here with me right now. Now, in order to get comfortable in a saddle, one of the most important things is just playing around with it before season and finding out all of the different adjustments and how it affects your comfort. Where do you want your tether on the tree? Do you like it high? Do you like it low? How do you like your bridge? Do you like a short bridge or a long bridge? Where do you like the adjustment points of your bridge connected to the bridge loops? All of those things are going to affect the comfort that you feel when you're in the tree. But all of that being said, the Moccasin is feeling like a very comfortable saddle that I would have no problem spending a few hours in on a hunt. Now, earlier in the video, I promised you a comparison between the Moccasin and the Sidewinder. The Moccasin is the budget-friendly single-panel saddle from CGM, and the Sidewinder that I have here in my hands is still affordable, but a little bit more full-featured and a little bit higher price tag than the Moccasin. So let me show you some of the features the Sidewinder has that the Moccasin doesn't. First, it has this extra little G-hook here. You can lift it up and connect it. And this is essentially transport mode for your saddle. If you're gonna wear it into the woods, it keeps it up. It's not dangling down. Very comfortable way to wear your saddle into the woods. Also, the leg loops here are disconnectable, removable, I guess would be the right word, whereas on the Moccasin, they are sewn in. You're gonna see there's the main row of MOLLE across here. On my particular saddle, there's an extra row of MOLLE, which gives you an extra loop at the end. This is a small loop. You're also gonna see you get a little bit bigger accessory loop right here. And then you're gonna see that your bridge connection points are a little bit bigger as well. They sit like this rather than like this. A little bit bigger. Another big feature that you're going to see here is the bridge gap adjusters, and this is going to be a strap that you can pull in or let out and sort of adjust the front of your saddle here. That's going to just give you that extra personalization to find the comfort that you absolutely want or need. Other than that, I'm trying to think what is different on this saddle. You do get an extra accessory loop here on the bottom side on both ends. And so there's a lot of connection points on this saddle. Now for me, the biggest thing that I would miss between this saddle and the Moccasin is this ability to tuck it up tight and hold it up when I'm walking in. But if I'm being 100% honest, most of the things that I just went over on this list, I rarely, if ever, use. And so when I say that the Moccasin has all of the features that you need and probably all that you actually want, I really do mean that. I think the Moccasin is a really great saddle at a really affordable price. And if you're looking for a budget-friendly saddle and you care about American made and quality and supporting veteran-owned businesses, I really think you should take a look at the custom gear modification Moccasin. With all of that said, I really hope you enjoyed the video. Let me know what you think of the video and the saddle down in the comments. And until next time, remember to get off YouTube and get outdoors into God's great creation.